Good morning. You're very welcome along to Ireland AM on Virgin Media 1.
It is Tuesday the 18th. It is lovely to have you with us. And here's what we've got coming up on the show this morning.
Oh, what a start we have ahead of your summer holidays with an Aer Lingus strike looking inevitable after pilots voted again for industrial action yesterday. We are making sure you know your rights when it comes to potential cancelled flights.
Any questions on that? 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you. We'll be doing it all in a while. Eco guru Pat Kane is talking all things greenwashing, finding out what it is and how the climate conscious consumer can avoid it.
Greenwashing?
Greenwashing. Oh, it's like I meant to do it.
And it is the seemingly harmless work habit that could seriously hurt your career. We're going to chat about the consequences of telling everybody how overstretched you are.
Oh my God, I'm so tired.
Oh, I'm
do you
so
know how much work I have to do?
Oh,
I've got 5 meetings today. How many do you have?
A lot. It's called stress bragging, and we are going to be discussing it at 8:15. So send us in any of your workplace questions. Do you have somebody in the office who's always going on about how tired they are? 0896 111 111. Our career psychologist will be on hand to answer them.
This is the wrong show for talking about how tired you are. Alan, you've never mentioned it in your life.
I can't talk to you. I'm too stressed.
You're too stressed.
I need to have a lie down in a dark room.
Well, I think you might actually have a problem, so we have to discuss either side of it.
I'm just too stressed over it all. I'm sorry. Now, we've lots more to come on the shows. We are also talking about waterproofing your wearables on the catwalk. We'll be chowing down on Catherine Layden's delicious Bakewell slices, and we're learning how to eco-print with all natural dyes just in time for that festival season. Now, Derek is in Kildare this morning. How are you getting on, Derek?
Yes, well, ahead of our trip to Dundalk tomorrow and then the Hill of Ishnock in County Westmeath for the summer solstice on Thursday. It's a day earlier this year. We've landed down here, as you mentioned, in Cúnta Kildare. Now, it is a cloudy start out there this morning. We are seeing some light showers slowly drift down southwards and then clearing up, and in fact to return to some decent sunshine, so holding pretty steady as that high pressure builds over the coming days. Now, we've landed down here at Kildare Wildlife Rescue. We had a recent oil spill onto the east coast. Hundreds of birds affected. They took in over 147 birds here down at the Wildlife Sanctuary, so we're going to be paying them a visit, checking in on the birds. So it is an AIM rescue mission to help our feathered friends later on this morning. And stress bagging, lads, never heard of that in my life. Try 4 a.m. starts. You know about stress bagging.
I know all about 4 a.m. starts, Derek, but listen, you are one man who deserves to be stress bragging because you work
the mileage.
We'll catch up with you a little bit later on in that lovely field that looks like you're in. Anyway.
Now, after the break, we've just been chatting about this. The new EU restoration law to Ursula von der Leyen's potential second term as the head of the European Commission. We're going to be running through today's top stories.
And we've also got the latest on the Aer Lingus strikes and the potential repercussions for any concerned flyers. With all of that still to come here on Ireland AM.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers, and just a bit of a warning, a lot of them are incredibly harrowing. The Irish Independent starts with the headline: Fierce pilot strike could hit flights as early as next week. A strike by Aer Lingus pilots is likely to cost the airline between 20 and 25 million a day. This is what the company has warned.
The Examiner leads with domestic abuse levels staggering. Almost 3,350 more women suffered physical violence in 2023 compared to 2022 in record disclosures of domestic abuse to Women's Aid.
Similarly, the top story on the Daily Mail: spike in domestic abuse is, quote, tip of the iceberg. Record levels of domestic abuse were reported last year with over 40,000 incidents.
The top story in the Herald is Irish rugby stars' gang rape trial postponed. The trial of 2 Irish rugby players charged in connection with an alleged gang rape have been delayed after one of them was seriously injured in a road crash in Dublin.
The Star leads with My Dad, the taxi rapist. Attacker's daughter tells of family's nightmare over father's assaults.
The Mirror goes with the same story.
Now we're going to go on to a different story. The Sun leads with Swift Bank. Pubs and restaurants are desperate to have Taylor Swift's Custom when she hits Dublin.
And finally, the front page of the Irish Times reads: European leaders back von der Leyen for a second term. European leaders are set to back Ursula von der Leyen for a second term as the head of European Commission, following a push to settle on their pick for the powerful position.
And we are going to be speaking about that last story in just a minute. But first, we have to start with Women's Aid. They received more than 40,000 disclosures of abuse against women and children last year. That was the highest ever in the organisation's 50-year history.
Yes, join us with that story this morning. Sinead O'Carroll, editor of the Journal.ie, and Hugh O'Connell, political editor with the Irish Times.
Morning,
Good morning,
guys.
Morning
to you both. Yes, we are starting off with that, those figures in Women's Aid, and it is just saying staggering.
Yeah, the CEO, Sarah Benson, said staggering. And actually, when the information came through yesterday for us to cover it, I actually had to double take and think, is that correct? Like,
Perfect, yeah.
More than 3,000 more than last year. So that kind of increase in terms of physical violence, and some of the details, like you said, Myrna, are really harrowing. Like women being beaten with like golf clubs, hammers, like losing teeth, being strangled, and that's on top of the huge numbers of emotional, and coercive control and abuse being reported as well. The other stat I think that probably we can do something to improve on is about half the women who contacted the guards said they got a brilliant experience, and half the women said they did not. So there's some kind of lottery happening within the justice system and the Garda system for how people are dealt with. So it means that like there's half a really good story there, that when people go to the guards, they get dealt with. And obviously that's such a huge step for people suffering from domestic violence to take. If you have a bad experience, it obviously sets you back. If you have a good one, you're on a very good path. So that's something I'm sure that the guards will be looking at and saying, where are we doing it right, and where can we learn to improve where we're doing it?
I know there are
so well.
specialised courses in places like Haven in County Clare that guards are going to now to kind of learn how to deal with issues like this, because we've had really bad instances in the past where calls of domestic abuse were on the pull system and they were ignored, denied and turned off. So
I mean, I do get the sense from covering this story over the last, from covering politics over the last couple of years, that guards take this very seriously at headquarters level, at senior level. In the Justice Department, the Minister for Justice has taken a lot of flack for not being too focused on law and order and crime on the streets and keeping Dublin safe and all these things. But what Gardaí say, and what people at the top of the Department of Justice say, is that this is an epidemic. We don't necessarily have a major problem with street crime in this country, but we have a major problem with crime in the home, domestic abuse. I mean, one of the figures that really stood out for me is just 4,297 disclosures of economic abuse. That's an 88% increase since 2022. So in a way,
because people realise what it is now, and that they're not afraid to reach out and go, this is wrong.
In a way, I mean, this is clearly horrific, but in a way, the fact that the reports are up is an indication that more and more women are coming forward about these things, and it's being called out more and more. But clearly there's more needs to be done to combat it, to stop it from happening.
And the other change that could happen as well is that women get very little support in terms of financial support if they need safety orders or any kind of court orders. So that's something else that could be done by the Justice Department by looking at this kind of opening up. Obviously there's legal aid if you have committed a crime, but very little legal aid if you're looking for these kind of orders against someone who is hurting you on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's horrific actually reading that this morning, some of the figures and some of the explanations of what is going on. The Women's Aid number is there, of course, and I think that it's so important that there are facilities and resources out there for people to use. So
we're there 24/7. Please reach out.
Let's move on to another story at the minute as well. This is the nature restoration law. Who wants to take a go at explaining what that is?
You were talking to us about it before.
Well, I was going, what is it, Sinead? So this is something that is coming in. It is new environmental legislation. First time it's coming in EU.
Yeah, so we've been talking about this for 2 years. We've been talking about this since 2022 when it was first proposed. Around 80% of all the EU's land, freshwater and marine habitats are damaged. So it's about restoring nature to those places. So things like rewetting, bogland, our floodplains, bringing them back to what they should be, improving the ecosystems everywhere. But this also includes urban areas. So it's rural areas, but it's also urban areas. Things like keeping our green spaces or improving on green spaces, having more trees, or getting back to levels of having more trees. So that's the point of it, to try and incrementally improve what we have destroyed over
We're talking about things that have all been tarmacadammed and going, let's put a little bit of green space.
Yeah,
right? We'd love to hear from you on this if you're invested, by the way. 0896 111
So
111.
the aim is to bring 20% of land and sea back to health by 2030 and restoring all damaged ecosystems by 2050. So it's kind of to try and get there incrementally over the next few years. So obviously we've been talking about it for 2 years, and now the 2030 thing is 2 years closer.
Okay.
So it's about doing that.
So why are people angry?
Yeah, so when you explain it like that, it doesn't sound controversial. But
Hugh,
I mean, farmers are some farmers are not all farmers, but some farmers and some of the farming organisations are resistant to this because whilst the government has made the point that this is voluntary and that it will only concern state lands in terms of state-owned land will be targeted for things like rewetting, as Sinead said, and restoration projects, farmers are worried about the impact on their lands and having to potentially change use of these lands and all of these things. It's something that they're unhappy about, and so what was interesting about this at a political level was that this was voted through by the European Parliament earlier this year. The European Council of Environment Ministers delayed a decision on this, it seems, until after the European elections. So that it's basically one of the first things they've done since the elections is to meet and to sign off on this. And we already had the independent MEP, Kieran Mullooly, coming out and saying there's been a lack of consultation about this. But as Sinead says, we've been talking about it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And there isn't a huge amount of specifics, from people like Kieran Mullooly. They are annoyed about timing and things like that. And farmers aren't a homogenous group. I've talked to farmers who are for big aspects of it, but obviously want a little bit more clarity around the mandatory part, around any legal enforcement. Because if obviously there's legal enforcement, they're worried that if they do something, that they need to do for their own land or by accident, that they could be in trouble. So
it looks
there
like
are
it
some
is
parts.
voluntary, though.
It is for now, and I think that's what...
And paid to take part in it.
Yeah, so that's why I've talked to farmers who are really happy that some of the stuff that they're doing, they'll actually get money to do.
Yeah.
Because there are a huge amount of farmers out there who are doing more than most of us to do progressive things and to do things.
They're trying to get rid of nitrates.
Because they are absolutely the front line of climate change, and obviously we've seen that with the weather this year.
We have a growing population as well, and more mouths to feed, and farmers are already stretched at the moment to try and keep up.
It was actually a farmer I was talking to who kind of focuses a lot on food security, who was welcoming the nature restoration bill when I was talking to her. But it's some of those things. It's all about cooperation, and I think it's in now. It has to be seen that cooperation is happening rather than an us versus them.
Yes.
And that's both sides have to make sure that they're doing that.
Well, I was just going to say, I do think farmers, you see, have generally have an issue with these kind of things coming down from Europe because, for example, about 10 years ago, milk quotas were lifted. Yeah. And there was then a huge increase in milk production, and now they're being told, well, actually, we might need to reduce the national herd. So there's generally kind of, I think, an annoyance that there's a lack of.
But on state lands and in city and urban areas, and I know it's about rural as well, but wouldn't it be nice if places were a little bit more green? There's so much concrete and tarmac. Listen, we'd love to hear from you. 0896 111 111. Very quickly, Ursula looks like she's going to get in for a second term here.
I mean, there was a lot of debate about this during the European elections that we've just had, but it does look as if she's going to get approved for a second term. She does have to go through the European Parliament, and some Irish MEPs have said publicly they won't vote for her, but she should have sufficient votes to get through the Parliament.
Who doesn't want to vote for her from us?
Fianna Fáil MEPs.
Okay.
Among others.
Let's move to the story at the front of the Irish Times, should we? Because this is...
it's a big story.
A big story at the moment. It must be at the front of the Irish Times. So this is Paul Mescal with a fashion faux pas.
Well...
Go on, tell us more, because I don't understand why this is the front of the paper.
He's at the front of the paper because they want to sell papers and put a picture of Paul Mescal on the front of the paper.
Paul Mescal wore O'Neill's shorts, and O'Neill's shorts sold 20% more shorts than they had the previous year.
Are these O'Neill's shorts as well, or are these shoes?
No, these are Gucci boxer shorts, but boxer shorts now are a trend to wear, like, in real life.
Yes.
And out,
they are, Hugh.
Get on it, Hugh. Yeah.
I'm just saying. Are you here next week? I want to see those boxers.
Gary Lineker, whenever he had to do Match of the Day, remember that?
Oh,
yeah. So maybe he's brought back
he started
shorts.
it.
Yeah.
Because they're a thing for women as well. So it's not maybe Hugh and you wearing next week.
So Paul Mescal was at the Gucci show in Milan, and it was flying around my WhatsApp groups yesterday. Anyway, there seems like there's nothing he can do wrong. But then, of course, people are pointing out of our vintage, the black shoes and the white socks, which is very much a trend now.
Well, it is.
But certainly when we were younger, that was a fashion faux pas.
Oh, totally, yeah. If you wore white socks to school with your black shoes, you got slagged.
Look at those shoes.
Mercilessly. And as Tommy pointed out, they look like shoes that
we would have had in school back in the day. They were like kickers shoes with the bar across the front. I thought that they would never see the light of day again, but look at that.
When you see that looks a bit different. You need to see the full look.
Can we see the full look again?
Paul Mescal's
No, I think that's
I think we should see the full look again.
Socks up as well, because they're a bit kind of full.
Do you think they fall
exactly, Hugh. Paul Mescal, take a long, hard look at yourself right there.
Those shoes cost about 2 mortgage payments, I have a feeling. Come here, we were going to talk to you today about your either fashion faux pas or your icks when you see someone wear something and you're like, ew.
Do you know
Could Hugh O'Connell wear that outfit on the...
Of course he
Tommy
could.
Bell
Look
wear
at
that?
him.
You've got the shirt.
A man with confidence. Hugh has confidence, Tommy. You could all do it. That's what Paul Mescal has done for the Irishman of the world.
I'll do it if you do.
Yeah.
You first.
Isn't it better that people are dressing like Paul Mescal than Conor McGregor? You know.
I don't know, whatever you're into.
Can we come up with a way to make him dress like that by the end of the week? Some sort of a thing. Anyway, we'd love to hear from you. 0896 111 111.
Sinead Carroll from the Journal, thank you so much. And Hugh O'Connell, the new Paul Mescal from the Irish Times, thank you so much.
Next week's going to be interesting. We're coming into silly season.
Shorts.
Now, still to come, we're talking travel tips ahead of these potential Aer Lingus flight disruptions.
And later on, our sustainable star Pat Kane tells us how to avoid greenwashing. We'll see you after the break. You're very welcome back. Now, Aer Lingus pilots have doubled down on their calls for industrial action, which could cause huge disruptions for holidaymakers this summer.
They certainly could, and here to tell us, ladies, is travel journalist Owen Corrie. Good morning to you, Owen.
Good morning.
Let's start at the basics. Why are the pilots threatening to strike?
They're looking for a big wage increase. They say that this is postponed wage increases they should have been getting anyway. They're also looking at what's happening in Europe. A lot of the pilots' unions across Europe have moved post-pandemic to get fairly large, substantial wage increases.
24%. I mean, who's going to get that? Are they saying that they haven't got that over the years, so it's adding up to that now?
OK, let's come back to what's going on here, because IALPA are one of the most powerful trade unions in the country. In a time when trade unionism has sort of faded away and all these checks and balances have stopped the sort of strikes you'd see in reeling in the years, down the years. Aviation is one of the heavily unionised sectors, and IALPA are the most powerful union. They have the power to do this. Whether they're entitled to that level of increase is going to be played out in the media over the last few days, and obviously IALPA will be picking the lower end figures, the 60,000 that you get early in the grade. 250,000 is what the management are putting out. I think that's what senior pilots, that's 1 in 4 of the pilots are looking for an increase of 49,000. Now that's the PR battle, Alan. It's really almost a sideshow to what is the most interesting and the most worrying part of all of this is the speed at which IALPA crashed through all the safeguards that are put in the industrial relations process. The tribunal within Aer Lingus, the WRC, the Labour Court, went to arbitration, rejected the arbitration.
Because they said 9%. They recommended a 9% increase.
This process takes 14 months, 20 months. Viewers will be familiar with industrial relations. It's quite clear to me that IALPA wanted to get this ballot that they had yesterday to go into the room and say, we're ready to go on strike. We have this huge support for strike, 97%. It's high summer. This is when we can hurt you.
Yeah, so and listen, this is the time to do it, as you say.
No point going on strike in winter.
Exactly, but whenever they are looking for a 24% increase, an extra potentially 50 grand a year, I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of the public wouldn't be massively in favour of this. But tell us, how likely are we to see this happen?
I think there's not going to be a strike. I think that
You don't think it'll go ahead? Do you think
I don't think the strike will go ahead. What we'll see is we're just coming out of the weigh-in. We're going into the ring now. They're trading the figures, contradictory data. This is what we're paid. Oh, no, it's not. This is we weren't paid in 5 years. Oh, yes, you were. All of that's going to be going on in the airwaves. But when it comes to the real talks, what IALPA can do is not give a strike date at all. They're already affecting forward bookings.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you, because if I was thinking of travelling in July or August, I'm certainly not going to book Aer Lingus today because of that looming industrial action. So, of course, it's going to affect their bookings from when this was mentioned.
It already is.
It already is, yeah.
It already is. And then they pick the last weekend of July is the busiest period for Aer Lingus. You're going to be affecting more than 40,000 passengers a day. They'll pull a date date like that out, then Aer Lingus will start chartering. First of all, they've the loss of the forward booking. Second of all, they start chartering in, looking for extra flights to carry their passengers. That'll cost them more. They'll also, if the strike goes ahead with only 1 week's notice as opposed to 2, under EU 261, then have to pay the compensation to the passengers. The airline pays that, not the union. And IALPA know all of this. So they're going to go into the room and say, we're going to cost you so much, we're going to make your life so miserable.
Well, it's 20 to 25 million a day is at the front of the Irish Independent.
And even without the strike, Tommy, they're costing 2 or 3 million a day in forward bookings.
What can consumers do?
At the very last minute, they're going to say, OK, no strike, we agree to whatever it is, but the damage will have been done. And you're playing to your strengths. It's a hard game. It's a tough game. Industrial relations, you're playing to your strengths.
Yeah, we can see exactly what they're doing, but it's very, very frustrating.
Very frustrating.
If you are a consumer and you do have a flight booked for this July, this August...
Don't panic.
Don't panic.
It's the airline's job to get you to where you're supposed to go.
But because not on the day that you're going. So if you have a connecting flight to America, if you have a cruise that's going out that day that you need to be there on that day, and they call the strike that day. So
yeah, you're in Genoa and the cruise is in Barcelona. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem. But it's... it
is.
The add-ons to, Aer Lingus are not going to be responsible for the missed football match or the wedding or the car hire or the hotel. That's where travel insurance kicks in. And this is a really difficult thing, is that once you have a strike notice, it's very hard to get... The common or garden travel insurance doesn't cover it, your ordinary year annual travel insurance. Okay. You need flight disruption cover on top of that. It doesn't cost a lot, it costs €8 or €9, but you won't be getting it now when the strike
is a strike looming,
It's like going to the insurance company when the storm is forecast.
But I do have flights booked with Aer Lingus this year.
You'll be fine.
So hopefully I will be fine. But so there's no insurance available, though. There's nothing I can get at the moment that could cover me if something doesn't go right.
If you don't have flight disruption and you're on Aer Lingus, the insurance company are likely to say, you're only phoning us up now because there's a strike threat. We're not going to give it.
So when do you think a resolution will come?
About 4 o'clock in the morning on the day of the strike. Because
on the day of the strike?
There's no point having the resolution early. Even you've got the Aer Lingus in a corner, you'll make them suffer. You're going to push it and push it.
Do you see today that they will announce a date that they will go on strike? Because that'll be something to go forward to.
They're likely to do that. They're likely to say to Aer Lingus, we're going to stall the announcing of the date until we're back in talks, do a deal, and Aer Lingus will be sizing up the cost of this, sizing up the cost of the pay. It's all, hard negotiation, like Spansel Hill horse fair is coming up this week. That's
just very quickly, legally, the Aer Lingus are asking for 14 days' notice. The pilots only have to give 7 days.
Legally,
is that
7.
Because 14 days the Aer Lingus don't have to cover your costs again, because they say within that 14 days they will be able to rebook you?
And here we have the triangulation as well. Aer Lingus say it'll take them, they need a bit more notice to charter in aircraft, all of that. But EU 261 is sitting in the background, and that's 14. Legally 7 days. 14 days, Aer Lingus have to pay compensation under EU 261.
So they'll still have to pay compensation.
Now, Aer Lingus have an option as well. Alan Joyce did it in Qantas. He just cancelled all the flights.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When he got a strike threat, he just cancelled everything so he wouldn't have to pay cancel. And then public opinion swung against the union. Now they're both fighting for public opinion.
It's 20 to 8 in the morning. We don't need to be scaring people about cancelling flights just yet. Owen Curry...
But Owen Curry said it's not going to happen.
Stay calm.
Well, stay calm. It's good advice, I think. I hope Aer Lingus do as well. Owen Curry, travel journalist. Let us know what you think. 0896 111 111. Do you have flights booked with Aer Lingus this year? Do you have sympathy for these pilots who are looking for a 24% pay increase on what they've got? Get in touch with us now.
Yes, Muireann, what's coming up next?
Now, that's going to be interesting hearing from all of that. We have got a guide to beating greenwashing and recognising genuinely sustainable brands. We'll talk to you very shortly on Ireland AM. Welcome back. Now, despite many brands claiming to be sustainable, this may not always be the case.
Yes, here to tell us what greenwashing is and how we can identify what brands are genuinely eco-friendly. It's sustainability expert Pat Kane. Good morning to you, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Like that you got the memo, the pair of you in green. Technically, it's kind of green, is it?
Teal, we think so, yeah.
Tell us, what is greenwashing?
Greenwashing is when brands are paying lip service to great practices, but in reality, they are not quite delivering on those. So think of like misleading claims like, paper cups or organic fast food or vegan leather or an eco collection of a big fast fashion brand.
So that's all rubbish.
That is all. You know what? Brands needs to start somewhere. And if they're starting somewhere and growing from there, amazing. But when they stop at that minimal effort just to tick a box, that's a bit of a problem, and we got to research. Yeah.
You just mentioned paper cups there.
Yeah.
And I always think, paper cups are compostable, we're all good. Well,
they have recyclable on it.
Yeah, what's going on?
Some paper cups are compostable. Some paper cups are just regular paper cups. And if you were to think about it, right, if you pour water into a paper cup, the water will run through it. So they need to have that plastic lining inside. So they're not really paper cups, yeah?
So give us, what other examples are there of?
Well, other examples, we look into when it comes to day-to-day, right? A consumer like us will go through lots of different things, but mostly like food, beauty, self-care, fashion. So these are 3 important areas. So when it comes to fashion, I mentioned there, conscious collections or we care, that sort of thing. When you start there and you don't grow from there, that's weird. Let's research, let's look at reviews, let's engage with the brand online on social media. That's one. When it comes to beauty products, when it comes to greenwashing, really, we're looking at environmental claims, but also claims that impact our health. So if you're telling me something is good for me, that's great, but I want to know why you're telling me that. Or else, you're telling me something is made from a great material, raw material, shea butter, or whatever it is. I want to know where that's coming from. I want to know nobody's paying the price for my beauty product.
So we need to start thinking about, when you see palm oil in something, for example, that has basically destroyed the orangutan's natural habitat and all that kind of stuff, where it was like, oh, look, we've got palm oil in this, it's good, it's sustainable. It's bad.
Well, yeah, some brands will use responsible source palm oil, so they don't even write the name at the back, they put RSPO, and you're like, well, in that case, let's research. What does that actually mean, right? The best thing we can do as consumers is take a step back before we make a purchase and really do a bit of research and try and understand what is it that we're putting, our hard-earned money on.
But is it affordable? Because a lot of these, to be do everything ethically right, costs an awful lot more money, and it is a cost of living crisis, and people are always conscious of their spending, and if they can get a product for a little bit cheaper, a lot of the time they'll pick it.
That's right, but you also need to remember, between buying from a very big brand that has questionable, behaviors, there are incredible Irish brands out there, small brands that are really putting everything they have to bring us affordable for better options, know. So I did bring a few options here. We'll go through it. But certainly when it comes to your fashion, if you can't afford a sustainable, super sustainable brand, go secondhand or shop from a small business. You don't have to go with that big label.
Okay,
right?
well, let's start off with then some of the products, shall we? So going into summertime, SPF is very useful.
Yeah.
You have a little SPF here. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, that's a brand called Seabody. It's an Irish brand from Kerry, and it's all about, vegan products, plant-based products, and they have a decertification called the butterfly mark that gives us great, I suppose, ensures us that they are doing the right thing. It's a very trustworthy certification, and that's a great way for you to pick up on good brands.
But a lot of places have these green certifies, or you'll see, a frog on one thing or a panda on another thing. Are some of these just things that the industry can make up? There's no standard 100%. That they can just lash onto a product and be like, well, this is our certificate that we're giving ourselves.
Some of them are literally just emojis, as I like to say. It's a little earth symbol. It's a heart symbol. It's just...
Why are the government not coming down on it more then?
So good news is that they are. So last year in March, a bill was approved, Green Claims Directive, and it's coming into action later this year, EU level. So different member states will have to come to terms with it. They have 2 years really to implement that.
Yeah.
And we will see an effect then of brands either being completely wiped out or else they're going to have like the corrective requests, like, look, you need to do better here. What can you do for us? Okay. So it is coming. There is regulation coming our way.
If you claim to be green, you'll actually have to show that you are green.
Back it up.
Okay. What else do you have here? You've got some
spray.
Yeah, that's
spray.
brown. So that's another brand.
Beside each other.
It's another brand that packaging is going to be glass, going to be paper, and it's all very certifiable, full of like genuine. To your point, Muireann, genuine certifications. So that's a good one.
And then beside it, then some root syrup. What's this one?
Chicory root syrup. So that's another Irish brand. So that's our third one here, homespun. Vegan product, good for you, good for the planet. You know, it's a plant-based product that's a replacement for honey. So it's fantastic, but it's vegan. I swear I'm going to leave that jar and you will try. It
What's
is
root
amazing.
syrup?
Chicory root. It's
What's
a
that?
plant.
Oh.
It's a plant.
And it tastes like honey.
It tastes better, if you ask me, like caramelly. I'm going to get you to try this.
Well, I'd be happy to try
I love
it.
when someone's ever even. I love when someone's ever even tried anything and they're like.
Honey's okay, surely, is it?
Well, honey is for, if you're a vegan, you want to avoid honey. And honey is like high content of sugar. So this is better for you from that sugar levels.
Vegan obviously is good, but you can still look after the planet and have non-vegan products, no?
You can. Everything's a balance. I'm all for balance.
Okay.
You know?
Strong roots, then these chips.
Again, strong roots as well as feed. Both brands here. We are looking at brands that are B Corp certified. So that's an all-encompassing certification from America. It's a good one, bringing, you know, companies together that are doing the right thing. So these guys they have plans to continue to do better. So if you start looking at labels, you will start spotting those different certifications. And one thing I will do later, I'm going to create a list of certifications and put up on social channels as well.
Oh,
like these
that's
ones.
Interesting.
Yeah. So to your left is the emojis, as I call. You know, brands creating lots of different things, marketing teams getting creative. To the right, you have Leaping Bunny, which is all about like cruelty-free products. You have your B Corp, you have your Fair Trade looking at human labor. You know, you're GOT certified for organic cotton and so on. So,
because unfortunately, it does involve a little bit of work from us to spot the greenwashing. It's happening everywhere. Yeah. So you have to actually, if you're looking at something, maybe just Google, read reviews, understand certifications, ask the brand, you know, ask friends that have used, engage with, you know, if there's a shop that you can go to, engage with the people in there and say, tell me about this, you know, and start pushing, because it's going to be very hard to do everything right, but find your lane. What is it that you want to try to do better? And start there, you know, small steps. Okay. It's a lot. We know it's a lot. It's a lot for people. It'd be great if companies had to do it properly, though.
It's a small bit, it goes a long way as well. Pat Kane, sustainability strategist. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pat.
Great to see you this morning. Now, still to come this morning, we're going to find out why complaining to colleagues about your stress levels might actually be causing more harm than good.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Can't complain to you every day. Mad. Plus, we've got some nature-inspired crafts to get you festival ready. We'll touch you in just a little while. Welcome back.
You're very welcome back.
Lots of texts coming in, and especially on this looming pilot strike with Aer Lingus, and lots of people getting very worked up over it. And I mean, we were chatting to Owen Curry, journalist, travel journalist, earlier on this morning. 24% seems a lot.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
But isn't that the negotiation tactic? They know they're not going to get 24.
But I don't think that's where they're losing the public on that. To be looking for 24%, and they're saying because they haven't got increases over the years, it adds up to that.
And it's the fact that they've rushed this through to make sure that this falls just before the summer holidays. So they're playing jeopardy with people's holidays and their flights.
Strikes for jeopardy. Let's get to what you think.
It's very frustrating. Sean has said, I have no sympathy for these pilots. I think the wage that they're on should be enough, because we heard that between one and four of them would be on north of €200,000 a year.
So Robert says here, these pilots are standing up to corporate greed, where big businesses take huge profits to the top while the workers have no increases. There is a wage crisis in Ireland. These pilots are brave and need public support. As we know, globally, the wealth gap is increasing. So those at the top are getting richer, and all of us underneath are certainly not.
People who are earning 250 grand.
I know, I'm not saying
at the top.
No, but can I just say, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it about everyone. When you're talking about people who are, the billion billionaires are getting more and more, they're getting more
the Labour
billions
Court
every
has
day.
recommended an 8% increase.
Yeah.
The rest of the staff in Aer Lingus, I think, have taken a 12.5% increase. So for the pilots alone to look for 24%, is not playing with the team.
No, I understand. I totally get that. But can I just say, globally, we all do need to take a stand so as that we do get rid of this wealth inequity. All of us,
Why are
every
you
single
saying
person.
that they should get it then? Because Mike says, well, some of these pilots are looking for a wage increase, which wage increases was higher than a family's annual income.
Oh yeah, I totally get that. I'm talking about the wealth gap globally for everyone. Everyone. I just do think it's insane that billionaires are making billions a day and everyone else is getting poorer. Do you know?
Well, it's just playing with people's holiday plans, and that's a frustrating thing. I have flights with Aer Lingus this summer, and I'd be petrified with the kids.
Absolutely.
I have flights booked to Croatia. This person has said for their niece's wedding in August, so I really hope they don't go on strike. I do believe in these times anyone is lucky to get a pay rise. And they were already offered 9%. So Owen Corrie said, don't panic. He reckons that it will all come to a head and it'll all get sorted.
Yep.
But frustrating. Now
we're going to look at your paper heads this morning. We'll start with the Irish Independent. The headline there, fears pilot strike, as we just talked, could hit flights as early as next week. Strike by Aer Lingus pilots is likely to cost the airline between 20 million and 25 million a day. This is what Aer Lingus is warning.
The Examiner leads with domestic abuse levels staggering. Almost 3,350 more women suffered physical violence in 2023 compared to 2022. That's in record disclosures to domestic abuse to Women's Aid.
Similarly, the top story in the Daily Mail, spike in domestic abuse is, quote, tip of the iceberg. Record levels of domestic abuse were reported last year with incidents, over 40,000 incidents being reported.
The top story of the Herald is Irish rugby stars gang rape trial postponed. The trial of 2 Irish rugby players charged in connection with an alleged gang rape has been delayed after one of them was seriously injured in a road crash in Dublin.
The Star leads with my dad, the taxi rapist. Attacker's daughter tells of family's nightmare over father's assaults.
The Mirror goes with the same story.
Now we're going to something completely and utterly different with The Sun looking forward to a concert in a couple of weeks. It says Swift Bank pubs and restaurants are desperate to have Taylor Swift's Custom when she hits Dublin.
And finally, the front page of the Irish Times. European leaders back von der Leyen for second term. European leaders are set to back Ursula von der Leyen for a second term as the head of the European Commission following a push to settle on their pick for the powerful position.
Also on the front of the Irish Times there was Paul Mescal.
With his shorts.
With his lovely shorts.
I know.
And we're wondering about people's icks in fashion, even though we think he looks lovely.
Do you think he looks lovely?
Yeah, I think he looks fantastic in that.
Yeah,
Do you not think he looks lovely?
We'll talk about that a little later on.
Oh, are we? I thought we were going to do Laura's.
Are we going to?
My bad. Sorry, my bad.
Up next, we're tackling your workplace woes with our career psychologist.
Including to know what we're doing next on the show. Yeah, we're not doing X, we're talking about this.
Stress braggers. We'll see in a few minutes.
You're very welcome back. Now, a new study has shown that people who are always boasting about their workload to their colleagues are seen as less likeable.
Yeah, here to discuss stress bragging and answer more of your career queries is career psychologist Sinéad Brady. Sinead, thanks for joining us. Stress bragging. I'm assuming it does exactly as it says on the tin. You brag about being stressed.
Pretty much. So it's kind of a disingenuous bragging about how much work you're doing in order to get noticed. So it's where you're kind of saying, oh, I was up all hours. And so rather than being actually stressed, you're doing it as a way to get noticed. You're talking about how much work you have to do, how much effort you put in. And it ties into this notion of hustle culture. It's where productivity and always being on is seen as a way to achieve success.
Okay, so it's almost to get further forward in your job by looking like I'm doing all this work, I've been up all night.
Correct.
But is it that they haven't been up all night, that they're actually setting like emails to go during the night, bits and pieces like that?
Possibly. So some people are really strategic about how they may implement this as a strategy. So some people will schedule their emails to hit at a certain time and then they will talk about. So, yeah.
You can schedule emails to, obviously.
Yeah, you can schedule your emails. Now, some organisations are clever to this and they've got filters that stop emails coming in before 8 a.m. in the morning and after 7 in the evening. But there are people who will talk about their workload. So they'll continuously be saying things like, you know, I'm so stressed, this is what I had to do this week. And they'll be calling out the amount of work that they have to do.
Can I just ask, is this not legitimate an awful lot of the time, that people do have an awful lot of stress because their workload is kind of insane?
Absolutely. So there's a difference between, so the people that are stress bragging, according to this piece of research, actually are not overstretched. They're not stressed. They're talking about being stressed to show how much work they are doing. The difference with somebody who's genuinely stressed is the resources that they have to do the job don't meet the demands of the role, and therefore they're actually stressed. And it is that they are working extremely long hours, but people who are stress bragging may not necessarily be working these long hours. They're just talking as if they are.
So it's two people, say, in a similar enough role, and one's always gone about how busy they are, but they're both doing kind of similar jobs.
Yes.
So what effect can this have in an office environment, and even probably more difficult working from home environment?
Yeah, so it normalises stress. So it makes people who aren't stressed feel, God, should I be stressed? Am I not doing enough? Should I be doing more? Should I be responding to these emails? So even in a work culture where this, you know, where you've got a healthy work culture, where people don't work extremely long hours, where people tend not to be stressed, when one or two people start this stress bragging as a way to get noticed strategically, it impacts other people within the organisation. So they're kind of thinking, oh God, do I need to work longer hours in order to get noticed? Particularly where it is rewarded. So where some organisations or some managers or employees might actually be rewarded for stress bragging, where they get a promotion off the back of all of the work that they're doing, and the outward appearance is that they're doing all of this work, but actually perhaps they're not doing as much as they're pretending to be doing.
Well, are they not going to be found out in the end?
Yeah, so people see it very quickly. So what happens where it's genuine stress, people are empathic, they're very much, they want to help. They'll say, you know, is there anything I can do to help you? Would you like, you know, a cup of tea or whatever? Let's see if we can figure this out together. Where somebody is stress bragging, very quickly people figure it out, and they began to be seen as less competent, to be less likeable. So people spot the fact that it's not authentic, it's not genuine stress very quickly. And actually it sets up for really uncomfortable work-colleague relationships.
Is this more difficult to spot in the hybrid working model? Because a lot of the employees aren't under the watchful eye of bosses all the time, and they're having to just go by feedback, emails, whatever else too.
Yeah, I think we have to be a little bit careful about that, Tommy, to be honest, because I think it's about output, and that's what we need to look at. Rather than think about hybrid and remote and in-office and watchful eyes.
But if there's somebody saying that they're very stressed and their output is the same as what somebody... this work might come easier to somebody than the other person.
Yeah,
so then they might be stressed, but because they're not able to see exactly what they're doing, because they work from home.
Yeah, that's very fair. So stress is about the lived experience. So some people will have a higher tolerance for stress than others. Some people will have a higher tolerance for stress than other people in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
So it just depends. So what I would say is where you perhaps as a colleague or a manager or a leader are managing somebody that has this kind of tendency to stress brag. It might be, you know, where you're having that chat and going, look, we're actually looking, are you okay? Can we help? We would much rather we focused on the process and the output rather than what or how you're feeling if you are stressed. Let's see, you know, we've got EAP, which is the Employee Assistance Programme, and most organisations will have that. And, you know, we say, let's see if we can help you.
What's EAP, sorry?
So it's the Employee Assistance Programme. It's where you have supports offered to individuals that is confidential by qualified practitioners. So if somebody is stress bragging, it might be a cry for help, as you say, but it might not be. So they go to EAP and you can get a qualified counsellor, you can get a qualified career coach, you can get somebody that will help you with time management, ranges of different professions.
Is that available to people within like the HSE or nurses or something?
Yeah,
is it?
Absolutely, yeah. So EAP is the Employee Assistance Programmes. It does tend to be in larger organisations, but if you've got private health insurance, which I know, you know, is a privilege, but it's also attached to that. So you can ring up, you've 6 free sessions per year under each of the different headings. So you can get support. So if it is a performance management issue, if it's not a performance management issue, if the person is getting the work done, but maybe they're saying all these things that are stressing other people out, it is time to have a chat with them. And
if
say,
you're a boss, how do you get them to stop?
You need to talk to them.
But if it's performative?
So if it's performative, you have to be really direct. So if somebody is not performing to the level that they need to, performance management is different than people management. So people management is where you're minding the person, where you're looking after...
It'd be very hard as a boss to say to somebody who's telling you that they're very stressed that they need to stop giving on about being stressed. You're not stressed. You're actually not doing the work here.
Well, again, that's not what I'm suggesting. I would say you have to say, you appear to be stressed. Is there a way we can help you? Okay. Here's the AAP system. Is there anything we can do to support you? This is what we think this is, you know, the right demands for the resources that you have. So we're suggesting this is the support that you need. Certainly don't say to somebody, I don't think you're stressed. That's not a good place to start with good people management. Yeah.
Every single study that we see globally when it comes to work-life balance work, it is that stress is through the roof. And this is not just because of work factors, but it's also because of cost of living. It's because of trying childcare. It's because of the modern world in which we live with all the outside forces, like looking at, you know, war on a daily basis, all this kind of stuff. So for, you know, messages that are coming in here about people who are just like, I can't handle my work-life balance. I'm overwhelmed. Like, so, you know, I know it's stress bragging, but there's something seriously going on. So how does someone do that? Like, the world is very hard for people who are working.
Really hard. And I myself am working, you know, I'm a working parent and all of those things that you're talking about. You're juggling everything. We're coming into summer. We've just had a day off for elections. There's all these different things going on. It is really hard. And I'm not for a second suggesting that we don't acknowledge the fact that it is stressful. There's a very fine line between being stressed, being overwhelmed and burnout. And I'm very, very clear that we have to mind people in the world of work. This is just a particular phenomenon that this piece of research came out on around stress bragging. And it is a tactic that somebody uses to deliberately be boastful about the amount of stress they're under in order to get the attention of people.
Yeah, I get that.
As you say...
But do we have this mindset now?
Yes.
Because I remember my father was always like, sure, I work to live. But it does feel like we're all living to work now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty much the title of my book, Total Reset, where it's saying, you know, we have to begin to see the world through a different lens. The world of work in many ways is broken because everybody is overwhelmed, everybody is under pressure. And it's how do we find this way to work while making a living and not have to pretend that you don't have life outside of work, that other things are actually important, like being able to go for a walk, have a lunch break. So many people that I meet on a daily basis are not actually just taking their lunch break. They're sitting at their desks and they're not moving. So yes, we have an issue, but I think we can, particularly with hybrid work and different ways of working, we can begin to support people in different ways if we look through the lens of what's the smallest thing we could do to help the most amount of people.
We have a couple of questions in here as well. One around some topics that you get an awful lot about, say, managing a career, making a career change.
Yeah.
How, if somebody is fed up with their work, if they're fed up with just having lunch at their keyboard, whatever else, and they want to do something different, what are the steps you would advise them to take?
So first off, we live in this world now that has curvy careers. So they're careers that aren't necessarily linear. Start in the same career, work your whole way through to 65 or whatever the retirement age, and you stay in that whether you like it or not. So careers are curvy. We're doing different things at different stages. So if you are thinking about a career change, irrespective of the stage in life that you are at, you bring all of the skills that you've learned to date with you. It's not a complete change. You've got all these transferable skills. And we think that by about 2035, the world of work is going to be hiring for transferable skills, not for titles, which I think is fascinating. We're going to be looking at what can you do and what do you bring to the table. So you have so many skills that you bring with you. Just because you're thinking about a career change doesn't mean that everything you've done before is deleted and no longer useful. You bring all that with you. And if you're thinking about a complete change, you only have to learn the technical skills of that role, which for the most part can be learned through upskilling, reskilling or retraining on a part-time basis. So don't fear it. It's possible. And it won't happen overnight is the other thing. It's not very fast. And anybody that tells you it will, you know, hold your judgment.
So any job can be learned really then, is what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Don't need any training.
No, you may need training.
That's it. What am I going to do next?
Career psychologist Sinéad Brady, thank you so much.
I'm going to be a doctor next week.
Curvy career. You've got quite the curvy career. It's good.
Very interesting. Get in touch, 0896 111 111.
Welcome back. It's summer, but you know, summer in Ireland, so you're going to be going out. You have to be prepared for every sort of weather.
Yes, we're prepared this morning because stylist Mandy Maher is showing us how we can weatherproof our wardrobe. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you both.
And like we do need it because like it could be gorgeous blistering sunshine and then there's a shower 10 minutes later.
Absolutely, and unfortunately it's just our climate
Yeah.
and we're used to it at this stage. But also what I like about the piece that I'm going to show you this morning is because the weather is so changeable, but it's different types of styles of outerwear that we can wear this time of year that's appropriate and actually to bring you through into next season as well.
Absolutely. So we're starting with Brona here, a blazer.
Yeah, so you know, we've been seeing so many blazers on as you see here every morning on your catwalk. So it's like, where a blazer to me you just never go wrong with. I'm loving the colour. They have them in a few colours. This full look is from Cold Clothing in Tullamore. And what I like about this, again, it's a really, really light piece because also what you need to remember, even with the rain, it's still quite warm and humid.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be overheating yourself either. Now, we did place this gorgeous little brooch on it, and this lovely. I have a thing about brooches.
You do, Mandy.
I do. I'm kind of known as being the queen of brooches.
It's lovely.
My thing. I love them. I think they're just an old-fashioned kind of an accessory, I think, but I just love them.
It's a great way to revitalise something and make something look a little bit different.
Absolutely. And you'll always have them. Pop them on anything
Just
in
a
a way.
lovely shirt underneath it.
Alan, I love this. This is a pinstripe shirt, and we've been seeing so many variety of style shirts coming through. And do you know the way they pick wardrobe basics? And this is definitely one of them in the blue stripe. Again, you can get them in different colours as well. But very light. It could be ideal for the office to go, if you wanted to go in office look for workwear, but we just teamed up with the jeans for more like an everyday casual look.
And with the jeans, anything except skinnies going these days. Stay with the skinnies, girls. But this is the 70s style, high-waisted flared.
Absolutely.
And pockets to the front there.
And pockets to the front, which is quite unusual as well. I'm loving the fact, exactly what you said, Muireann, that they are high-waisted. I always feel a jean should be high-waisted for comfort, but even Brona, when she was trying them on, was saying how the stretch that's actually in these, which equally as well is very important because it's a really soft jean.
They're Wranglers.
Yeah, aren't they gorgeous? I know, we're back to Wranglers. I'm delighted I'm surprising you with that. Isn't it great? We're back to Wrangler jeans. I know, we haven't seen them in so long, and the flare look, this is what it's going to be all happening with this style for the season. Finish up them with these great shoes.
Lovely shoes.
Aren't they gorgeous? Little peep toe heel, and I'm loving these again like that. You can obviously wear these more dressed up if you wanted to, but we just went with them with the jeans today.
Gorgeous.
Thank you, Brona.
Thank you, Brona.
Lovely.
Thank you so much.
Daniela, this is so cute looking.
Yeah, you were loving this.
I just think this is so cute.
Me too. This is a me outfit. I love this as well, and this is from Cold Clothing in Tullamore as well. So jackets, outerwear. You know what I'm like with biker jackets. We see them time and time again, but they never go out of fashion. You'll have them for 20 years in your wardrobe, literally, and more. And I'm loving this again like that. It's not overly bikery either, because some of the zips can be very
and not overpriced, because when you're getting a jacket like that, you sort of go, oh God, that's going to be really expensive.
Yeah, and it's not expensive at all. It's very affordable. And again, like that, I'm loving the pink lining in this, which is actually quite different. You normally wouldn't see this kind of a colour lining in the jacket either.
And it's lovely to bring to the fore, just to do that, to roll it up, to bring another bit of flavour to it. You just got a white T-shirt.
Absolutely, with a simple Tommy and white T-shirt. And again, like that, white T-shirts you can never go wrong with. They have the, obviously their logo at the front, but you know, I like it. It's picking up the
very 90s logo at the minute. The skirt, you could dress up, dress down, like you have today.
Absolutely, and we went with a more casual look with this, but I'm loving the pleats in this, and I particularly love the colour. I just think it's a super blush pink and very girly, very feminine.
And then there's just a pair of runners with it?
And then we just simply up with a pair of trainers. Again, like that, what wardrobe is complete without the trainers? You either love them or hate them, but personally, I love them and you can never have enough. Loving these, they're the Tommy as well. Simple white, classic.
Lovely. Daniela, thank you so much. Cheers. Now, earlier on, we had at Dermot, we had a glimpse at this one. We're getting a better glimpse at this lovely coat.
We did. And this full look is from Ivory Lane. They're in the Oran Town Centre in Oranmore, and they're also in Castletroy Town Centre in Limerick as well. But
so a little raincoat, like, I mean, and we were looking at it earlier on, it is so light and so practical.
It absolutely
And this is something you would have for years.
It is, Alan, and of course, obviously being the beige, it's never going to date from a colour point of view, but again, like that, it is a waterproof jacket. It's beautiful, a little bit more expensive than normal jackets, but again, like that, it's an investment. It's a year's, something you'll always have. But I love it. They have the hood on it as well if you want to obviously keep it a little bit drier with the hair, which is very important for us girls. But again, like that, you could either close it, leave it open and worn like this. Because if you're getting dressed up, what do you put on that's going to not kill the outfit that you're also wearing underneath? And this particular coat works perfectly.
Yeah, you've done a really good job with this outfit, dressing it up. It's lovely.
It's nice.
And
the shirt. Isn't it gorgeous? I'm loving this. I love the detail on it. I just think it's, again, a beautiful piece. So if you're the person that is going out for this, would be a lovely outfit for dinner or something like that, but I'm loving the quality on this as well. It's just super.
The sleeves are lovely to it as well.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Yeah.
Very, very feminine piece. And again, like that, we actually kept the accessories completely to minimal on this, but loving the trousers. And these gorgeous wearing.
This is it's absolutely lovely.
I love these too. And I'm particularly, and Dermot said it herself, I love the big turn-up on the end.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Are they just like a cotton trouser?
They're cotton trousers.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and of course like that with the big turn up on the end.
Well, Sinead O'Carroll had a pair on earlier on, the amazing wide leg cos ones as well. They're gorgeous trousers. They're really nice.
But the
and then the
shoes.
A little bit of a heel.
A nude heel, and again like that, they've actually just recently brought their shoes in store in Ivory Lane. But look at the heel on these. Dermot, if you turn slightly, you'll actually see them there. Aren't they just the coolest ever? Love them. Really, really elegant, and again super comfortable as well.
Cool, thank you very much.
Some jewellery?
And we do. We actually went with earrings as well. We went with the statement earring for this particular look. Sure, listen, we all need a little bit of statement in our lives, and these definitely do.
Lovely.
Love these, yeah, really cool.
Lovely on you, Dermot. Love that outfit. Really, really, really nice. Because it's
Thank you.
They can all be casual, but it's quite very dressy together.
But that's exactly
Now,
it.
Brona,
Now,
this
Brona,
type of jacket now, we're talking about festival fashion later on, but if you're going somewhere like that, this is exactly the type of thing you need.
It really is, Alan. And like that, as we said ourselves, our weather is so unpredictable, but this jacket works absolutely perfectly. And again, it's quite similar to Dermot's as well, probably a little bit more on the casual. This is definitely more day jacket.
And where is it from, Ivory?
This is from Ivory Lane as well, in Oranmore in Galway, and of course in Castletroy Town Centre in Limerick.
Lovely.
And available online too.
And then you've gone with poppy yellow underneath.
Yeah, we went with a simple yellow t-shirt. I kind of went, okay, well, what do we do for something more day wear, casual? And I love the t-shirt. I love t-shirts. You could never go wrong. They have a great collection of these in different colours as well. And as you see the little butterfly detail on them.
So
lovely.
simple.
Yeah, it's very, very simple.
And are these Wrangler jeans as well?
These aren't Wrangler jeans.
Because
No, they're not.
Very similar with
but
the
they are
pockets to
quite
the
similar.
front.
They actually are. And again, you notice the style back to the flare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I love the flares. I just think they're cool. They're fun and they're funky and different. And of course, very much in fashion.
And you've tried them all in with the runners?
And I did. And I love these. I absolutely love these trainers. Really cool. Particularly love the fact that the colour on them. Loving the fact they're powder blue with the mix of picking up the colour, of course, of the t-shirt as well.
They're really good.
They're cool.
I love the sole of them. I love a sole like that.
And then just finishing it off with a pendant?
Yeah, we went with a simple pendant. It's actually like an envelope. This is brand new to them, and I'm loving this because actually inside you can actually open that little pendant and you can put a little personal note inside.
You put pictures in?
You could put pictures in it. You could put a little note and engravement inside if you wish, but I'm loving it. You can always look for gift ideas, and this is actually just new to them in store as well in Ivory Lane, or they also have it as well in a vertical pendant.
You could have me with you everywhere you go.
You could.
If I gave you a little picture.
All right. Be haunted
So
by
we'll know exactly what we're going to be getting for Christmas, Murren. We'll know exactly what we're going to be given.
You try and you try.
Thank you so much,
Thanks
Mandy.
a million. So it's all about outerwear. At least we're sorted for the weather.
Thank
anyway,
you
whatever
for
it
being
brings.
lovely, Mandy.
Thank you,
Thank
Murren.
you.
Imagine
I'll buy you that, Murren.
And would you think Carl might have something to say about that?
I'll
Going
give
around
you
with your
one.
picture on me neck.
Derek's at a wildlife sanctuary, learning about bird rescue and rehabilitation.
Yes, he's going to join us with some feathered friends after this quick break.
You'd be lovely.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, Derek's been in Kildare this morning with the Kildare Wildlife Rescue.
Yes, he's been learning all about the Rescue Centre's efforts to keep local birds safe.
Take it away, Derek.
Good morning, team. It's all about rescue and rehabilitation here this morning, broadcasting live from Kildare Wildlife Rescue. Pierce Stokes is with us. And Pierce, let's get straight into that recent oil spill there in May, just off the coast, just off the Irish Sea coast.
Yeah, so at the beginning of May there was an oil spill on the east coast of Ireland. Don't know exactly where the source of it is from, but over 150 guillemots and razorbills started to come ashore all the way down the east coast, from Dublin all the way down to Carnsore Point.
Pierce, was it a large spill?
It must have been a pretty large spill, but it seems to have been maybe out to sea where these particular species breed and feed. So they were diving into that oil, diving through to fish and getting covered in that oil, so they would come in completely covered in oil when by the time we would see them.
How many birds were affected, Pierce?
So international estimates are that you see about 10% of all the birds that were affected, and we took in about 150 animals. So it could be as much as, 1,500 birds that are out there that we didn't get to help. But we did manage to get help to, 100 of those birds.
Now, there was a big rescue mission underway. How did you manage and how did you go about capturing them?
Yeah, so we were incredibly lucky that Kildare Wildlife Rescue has this big network of first responders. So we were able to mobilise that network right away and get people down along the east coast. If this had been on the west coast or somewhere else, it would have been a total disaster. If it had been a different species, it would have been a total disaster. But over that 400 kilometres of coastline, Dublin down to Wexford, the team mobilised. We set up a specialised group of volunteers who were trained to deal with oil, and we went basically hitting beach after beach after beach. People were sending in reports to that email, info@kwr.ie. The email team were filtering that down to us, and we were on the road flying back and forth 16-hour days, and then we'd be bringing the birds back here, and the team all through the night would be working to stabilise those birds, get them fit and strong as fast as possible. And so that was the first response effort, if you like. And after that, then you get into having to stabilise them, feed them up so that they're not ingesting all that oil. And when they're strong enough, they pass a blood test, and that means they're suitable to go in and get washed.
Now, it was mainly razorbills and guillemots.
That's right.
They're the birds you took in.
Overwhelmingly guillemots and a few razorbills. They're incredibly charismatic birds, brilliant little seabirds. But when we were picking them up, they were skin and bone. You could feel their bones, their keel, it's called. And when we were picking them up, and then, because I only do the first response, when I came up here and saw them in the tanks when they'd come back to full health and saw them, being released back out into the sea, I was in tears, to be honest with you, to see them come back full of life. You'd see them on camera.
Pierce, you had to set up a whole operation, including these tanks and pools we have here behind us.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a very expensive operation. National Parks and Wildlife Service and the Oil Wildlife Response Network helped us out there. Obviously, we have Grey Abbey vets right here on site giving us all that veterinary support. But there's a this tank, about 10 grand, that you can see behind us. So Ireland was not prepared for this. Like I was saying to you earlier on, this was like a drill. We got incredibly lucky with location, species. We can put 8 guillemots on this pool. If we had cormorants or gannets or something like that, we would need
quite large birds, right?
Large and aggressive. Yeah. We would need one each. We'd be now up into the hundreds of thousands. To give you just context, when the Netherlands had to deal with an oil spill with swans, their response effort cost 1.5 million euros. Wow. So we're working hard here and we're in need of support.
All right, Pierce, we'll come back to you in a few minutes' time because we're going to walk and talk and we're going to come in to the actual tent here itself. We're going to talk to Fiona Grimes. Fiona, you are the vet here at Grey Abbey Vets. Tell us about the condition of the birds when they actually came in.
Yeah, so they were all extremely covered in oil, cold, dehydrated, very, very skinny from struggling for a few days to survive covered in the oil.
And what does it take then? What do you have to do to get the oil off their feathers?
So before we can even start to wash them, we have to stabilise them. The washing is a really stressful procedure. So we first had to rehydrate them, get them warm. We were giving them activated charcoal to help absorb the toxins in the oil. So they spent a good bit of time stabilising before we washed them. The washing procedure then itself can take about an hour. So we have to first wash them with fairy liquid. That gets the oil off. And then we have to rinse the fairy liquid off.
Okay, so you have to spend an hour basically taking the oil off each bird. Obviously, these are wild birds. They're never supposed to be anywhere near humans because they live out at sea and they breed out at sea. I mean, you got a couple of pecks, didn't you? Like, let's see your arms there.
Yes, a few pecks from them.
Quite sharp, right?
Sharp beaks, yeah. They don't like being handled. We do what we can to minimise that with things like covering their heads with towels. But,
I mean, you've nursed them and you are nursing them back to full health now down here at the centre, right?
Yeah. So bit by bit they're getting better. They're feeding by themselves now, fish, and at the start we were having to supplement their food by tube feeding them, so that took a lot of work, doing that 3 times a day.
And you're giving them what, sprat in the morning?
Sprat, yeah. So they get sprat a few times a day, and they'll now dive for it in the pools.
Okay, so they'll be nursed back to full health, which is great to see. Pierce, we obviously need to release these birds now off the back of it, right?
Yeah, that's when the real kind of magic happens, and that's the whole purpose of this endeavour, is to have these birds fully healthy and release them back into the wild. That's what Kildare Wildlife Rescue was all about for all species in Ireland. So yeah, they'll go back to nature.
Okay. Obviously, you're always looking for volunteers. You're always looking for donations.
Always looking for volunteers and desperate for donations. This is a very expensive endeavour at the best of time. in our first year, Kildare Wildlife Rescue dealt with 5,000 cases. It looks like we're up by 70% already, so things are crazy at the moment. So if you do want to volunteer and help Ireland's native wildlife or natural heritage, get in touch with Kildare Wildlife Rescue. And if you can donate, like, really please, every penny is going to these birds. So yeah, please help us.
All right, thank you so much, Piers, to Fiona as well at Grey Abbey Vets. From me and all the team here, they're doing absolutely amazing work. I've had a look at the birds as well. You've seen them on air here this morning, being nursed back to full health down here in County Kildare. Back to you in the studio.
Well done, Derek.
Great
Thank you so
work,
much for highlighting things that are happening and something that's really important. It's really, really, really fantastic. Now, there's lots more still to come in the final hour. He's a legend of the stage and screen, actor Gary Lyndon. He's going to be joining us for a chat.
We're having fun with colourful plants and fabrics as we give eco-printing a try.
And we are getting nutty in the kitchen with some delicious almond Bakewell slices. Catherine Maiden.
Have you?
Oh,
I have indeed. It's past my breakfast time. Anyway, all to come on Ireland Jam.
Welcome back. Now, finding ways to give your fashion and accessories a unique flair has never been so fun, Alan
Well,
Hughes.
it's fun this morning with all the materials to be found right outside your doorstep. Designer Alison Ney is here to tell us all about eco-printing. Good morning.
Morning.
So eco-printing, what is it?
Yeah, so it's basically taking the dye from flowers and plants and transferring it onto the fabric, and you get the actual print from the dye inside the fabric.
This is fascinating because we all would have done it in school where you would have taken a flower, squashed it between a book and, you know, gave it to your mum for Mother's Day. But this is actually getting the colour out of flowers to become something fashion. This is what this is?
Yeah, this is all the flowers. I grew these flowers in my garden last year.
Everything you have here is from your garden, flowers from your garden, which is
amazing. This is a dress
amazing.
I made for my mum for a wedding last year, so this is linen and then rose leaves and chamomile.
So people could technically do this themselves?
Yeah.
Or you could buy Alison's work, let's just say
Yeah,
that.
let's
Okay,
say.
so you're going to show us how to do this eco-printing. So we both have
So
tote
you both
bags.
have two cotton tote bags.
Cotton.
So they're
Doesn't
cotton.
matter
You
all
can-
the materials.
Always has to be natural material.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you
you're
get
going to
your
place your flowers
and you
anywhere on
do you have
one
to
side.
press it really hard?
No, because you're going to do that after.
You're going to do that after.
It's wet.
So they're slightly damp, so you have to have it damp, and then that when you heat it up in the steamer, it helps to transfer the dye onto it.
So will I put it down like that?
Yeah, put it down like that, and then if you pick maybe the dry flowers, because they're the actual dye flowers that I grew in my garden last year.
The dye flowers? What sort of flowers
so
are
that's
these?
Dyer's chamomile, that one, and then the little orange one is coreopsis.
That's the one
Oh,
that
yeah.
I'm going to put it. I could smell burning there. And I was going to
No, that's the pot.
The
Hopefully
pot's
I don't press.
burning.
And then these are marigolds as well. They make lovely little, lovely prints as well.
Okay,
You can just put, and what's this one here?
This is cosmos. Yeah.
So these are just things you grow?
Yeah.
Okay, what do we do
I'm
next?
happy with mine. So
Yeah,
do we fold
absolutely.
it over?
So you fold it over.
Plastic,
Yeah.
no.
Fold over first and then plastic on top. So the
And then
reason
put a
we're
plastic
going to
on.
put the plastic so that it creates a barrier so it doesn't keep printing all over onto the back of the fabric because it will bleed through.
Okay.
So what do we do now?
And
So
then-
now you're going to roll up your like this, sorry.
Oh,
So on the
actually
bottom
like
of-
a
like you're
sandwich.
doing a roulade.
Yes,
Swiss
exactly.
roll.
Say
Swiss
something
roll.
like this that you have here. How long does that take you to do then?
I
is
mean-
this the same type of thing you would do
This is
half
the
of it
absolutely
and fold it over?
Yeah, so I made the shirt first and then I folded it over. I did one side, so it's a mirror image of the plants.
Okay.
And then that's also been dipped in another dye as well.
Okay.
So
Oh,
then
we're
you're going
done
to
there.
wrap that around there.
Wrap your
and then we're
going to
use our bandage. These are really handy for.
Are they actual just bandages?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Get yourself a doctor boyfriend and he'll bring them home for you.
He's in the corner with the head down, not paying attention to anything there now.
So you're going to wrap that around as tight as possible.
Oh, God,
As
okay.
tight as possible.
Don't worry, I'll finish it if you can. So
That's not that
nice
tight.
and tight. Yeah, so what you're doing is creating
Is you're
contact between the plant and the textile.
Okay.
So the tighter, the better. And that's why this stuff is really good because it gives you a really smooth...
Okay, so what happens next?
So we're going to tie this off then.
Yeah.
I literally just tie it in a knot like that.
Yeah.
And this goes in the steamer.
It goes in a... Okay, so show us there.
Yeah.
Put Maren's one in there
Yeah,
first of all.
okay, and just be careful.
This is
so
your
there's some
steamer.
steam, yeah, and then you pop it in just like that. And this is a nice big fish kettle. It's supposed to be for steaming fish.
Steaming fish, but
Yeah.
this is what you've used it.
Yeah,
and
it's good for long pieces of fabric.
How long will we see results?
20 minutes for flowers.
So we're coming back to you at a quarter to 10.
Yeah.
We'll have we'll open them up then
Yeah,
and see
yeah,
what
yeah.
the results
I'll
are.
have them out of the pot and nice and cold.
Yes, and then we can open and reveal reveal our masterpieces. Our masterpieces. Later on. Here, there's my one.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
see more of this from Alison May in just a little while, but right now back into studio. Tommy, what is coming up?
Thank you very much. Yes, looking forward to seeing Alan coming out of the pot. Now, actors Gary Lyndon and Dermot Murphy are here to share all the secrets of stage and screen. That's coming up after the break.
Oh, hello. From blockbuster movies like The Banshees of Inisherin to star-studding biopics such as Bohemian Rhapsody, Gary Lyndon and Dermot Murphy. They're no strangers to being on film.
Yes, you're right. They've joined forces for their latest project and they're in studio to tell us more. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
We will talk about the new show, A Handful of Stars, which is in the Pavilion tonight in a minute. But Gary, like... Banshees of Inisherin, The Guard, like you've been a part of some pretty iconic Irish roles.
Yeah.
Like it's a brilliant time to be involved in Irish film.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, with the great actors coming through, like Paul Mescal, Barry Keoghan, yeah, I mean, it is a great time to be, you know, an Irish actor, you know, even though my accent is a bit of an English twang there, but I haven't spent a long time in England. But yeah, no, it's exciting times, you know. You know, and there's, I think we've, you know, the Irish films are really coming through as well, you know what I mean?
You were vicious in The Banshees. Like, that really felt like you punched Colin Farrell. Like he had taken your cup of tea that morning.
Yeah.
Or something had happened. You went for him. He did?
No, coffee, actually. No, but that was all, it was kind of... You know, my son said recently, I wish you could play nice characters, you know what I mean? So, yeah, he's a pretty nasty person to play.
Wow. But when you get into the stable of someone, like you've worked with Martin McDonagh so many times, you know, the director and the writer who does all this, that's kind of nice to be in a stable, knowing some of the cast and the people like Brendan Gleeson and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have done plays with Martin McDonagh going back many years, and... you know, you have a kind of a shorthand with him, you know what I mean? Because you know him so well. And I've worked with Brendan, obviously, on The Guard as well. And I knew Kerry Condon a bit as well, you know, so... And some of the other actors as well, you know.
Like, it's amazing, both coming up through the scene and Irish film and Irish television is doing so well. Like, can I ask you, though, because you're involved with the clinic as well, like, with funding kind of being taken away a little bit from Irish production a little bit, particularly from our RTE, do you worry about maybe young actors getting those opportunities that maybe you would have got?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. I mean, but I think, because you were saying at the beginning that, you know, there's such an interest, say, internationally for Irish productions that, you know, that money might be more liable to come to Ireland, you know what I mean? And for Irish stories to be told, you know what I mean? Yeah, and also, because of the situation with RTE, you'd be concerned that the drama section might be pushed to the side. You know what I mean? 'Cause, you know, they'd be, you know, having to do the remit of the national broadcaster, you know what I mean?
But you'd hope that that wouldn't happen because so many people came through the clinic. And for you, Dermot, maybe do you just have to grab something like a pair of GAA shorts like Paul Mescal and get yourself on the front of the Irish Times? Like,
that's
what
how
can
to
be
do it, I reckon.
what can be your unique thing?
Some O'Neills or whatever.
He's taken the GAA shorts off you all.
I know, it's amazing. But I'd say GAA were just delighted like when that happened. I'd say they were over the moon. I'd say sales went through the roof.
20%.
20% O'Neills.
20% went up.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you spend 900 quid on Gucci or 20 quid in a pair of O'Neills?
Yeah,
I'm
going down and getting some O'Neills.
It looks like he's wearing a pair of old school kickers on the shoes that we wore back in school back in the days as well, on the front of the Times this morning as well. But for you as well, to be a part, like, listen, you played Bob Geldof in that biopic of Queen, like Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, my goodness, what a show to be a part of, the music and everything. But, like, Bob Geldof's role was pretty huge.
Look at you. You were so good in it.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, the mullet, man. That did most of the work, I think. But yeah, no, that was an amazing film to be a part of. Amazing music and an amazing story. It was. I think it was weird playing Bob because we're Irish. We all know him. I think everyone knows him, and particularly that sort of time period, 1985. It's a very iconic kind of a role and an iconic sort of person. So it was there
that
was a
line.
bit of pressure. But
No pressure.
yeah,
No
no
pressure.
pressure. Yeah.
Because he's a living, breathing, real person.
He's still alive, so you know if you mess it up, you're going to hear about it.
Did you talk to him?
I didn't talk to him. No, I didn't talk to him. But I have a cousin who ran into him somewhere, I think in Paris or something, at some charity thing, and she said, "Oh, my cousin played you in this movie." And apparently, he said it was all right. So.
Oh,
okay, that's pretty good.
That's as good as you're going to get, I think.
We saw the scene there of them coming into Wembley. You were telling me there that they actually built a replica style size Wembley stage and backstage. Like, I mean, the budget for that was huge.
The budget was serious, and it was really successful as well, like that film.
Yeah.
But they did, they changed Wembley, but in 1985 it was obviously a certain stage, a certain stadium, so they recreated the stage and the backstage part of it to spec, because so much of it was filmed. We all know what it looked like, I think, so there was a lot to draw from. So yeah, they made a whole stage.
And I know you had a few scenes with Rami Malek as well in it.
I did have scenes with Rami.
Must be heartbreaking whenever you know, like, this is my scene coming up. Then you're like, fuck it, they didn't use it.
Yeah, we went because they had the premiere in Wembley. I went with a buddy of mine and stuff, and I was like, look, watch this now. Here we go. And then the scene just wasn't in it. I was like, oh my god. But no, I was very proud to be a part of it, and the stuff that made it in was great. So
the hair alone.
Yeah, it was class.
The hair alone.
The hair alone.
Yeah.
The hair alone. I love the way, Gary, when you said it didn't make it. You know, when something's on the cutting room floor, when you're in a movie and you're like, I was really good in that.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you as well?
Yeah, it happened in Banshees. I think it was maybe one or two scenes that didn't make it, but they're actually in the DVD thing, you know, the extra scenes.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
I actually haven't. I must get the DVD and watch them both.
And be like, that was a great one.
Maybe like, you know, it wasn't as good as remembered, actually.
We spent it was the first scene that me and Barry did, actually, but I don't know, it was good, but hopefully...
What did you make of Barry? Because, like, he is going through, through the stratosphere at the minute, Barry Keoghan at the minute. Like, there's a handful of amazing actors in that movie, but Barry seems to be really a shining light at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around quite a bit, but, you know, just seeing the way Barry just works on set, you know, he just kind of takes his time, and he's very self-assured, you know what I mean? Which is quite amazing for someone so young, you know what I mean? And it's kind of, you kind of learn, you do learn from younger actors, you know what I mean?
Really?
Well, yeah, you would do, I would, yeah, because you kind of, as you get older, you kind of get, you know, you get more nervous when you get older, because you probably know what can happen, you know, the pitfalls or whatever, you know? But to see someone like that who is just he's a total natural.
Do you try to pass on the advice? I do this a different
way.
Do
it this way. Well, he's sitting beside. What have you learned from Dermot? Do you know what I mean? Dermot's like, I'm right here. But
I'm good.
No, I haven't.
I'm all right. You keep talking.
It's your turn.
You're working together again, and as Dermot was saying, well, we've worked together 3 times before we came on air, and Gary was like,
yeah, he didn't remember.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm getting old. You know what I mean?
Tell us about this. Is a Billy Roach play. It has been known for absolute years. It's a legendary play, A Handful of Stars. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so A Handful of Stars is set in sort of the 80s back in Wexford, set in a snooker hall, the local kind of snooker hall where the hard cases sort of the town hang out. And the story follows Jimmy, who's the local rebel, I guess, who's been chased by Detective Swan, who Gary plays.
So you're playing Jimmy Brady?
I'm playing Jimmy, but Gary played him originally. I think it's important to say. Yeah, so I'm just taking over.
Well, that's why I was teeing it up with Barry Keoghan. If he was asked, Gary was giving him advice. Has he given you any advice in playing this role?
Yeah, he has. He's given me some pointers and stuff, and yeah, I mean it's nerve-wracking, I have to say, just taking over from a part that Gary done so well. Like it's a legendary play, like you were saying, and everyone kind of remembers it. So it was it was a daunting task to kind of be like, all right,
because when I went in, I said I'm not going to say anything, you know, let him find it himself. But the director said no, tell us what it was like when you did it, you know. And you know, I have been giving him a few things, but you know, it's fascinating to see someone else's take on it. You know what I mean? Because I think you're quite different, probably a bit different to the way I did it, but in a good way. You know, it's kind of going, oh, I should have, wish I'd have done it like that.
Because it's
much better looking at me.
But it's when you
thought about that looks.
Yeah. You know, when you take over from someone else, people are always going to do things in a different way.
Yeah.
But the person you're taking over from, who did it for years, is standing there beside you, being the detective who's trying to catch you.
The first day at the read-through, it's like Billy, who wrote the play, is sitting here, and Gary, who made the part famous, is sitting here, and I was like...
Yeah,
all right, here we go. Yeah, but no,
he's doing a brilliant job on it. Like, you know, it's incredible. The energy coming off him is you could nearly plug him in, like it would be, you know, make tea for him. You know.
So, how do you find playing the detective then? Because it's the opposite side of it, so it gives you another opportunity to explore something different, probably as well, though, which is nice.
Yeah, because you know, my instinct, you know, probably was a bit of a rebel myself, and obviously I have an affinity with the character, but it's interesting to kind of plug into the opposite to that.
Yeah,
because like, you know, in fairness to the Swan, the detective, what he's saying is true. You know, he is being self-destructive. You know what I mean? It is right to sort of not to go down that road of self-destruction. Do you know what I mean? And to be, you know, the likes of him probably would be out, you know, hurling training or something, or rugby training. You know what I mean? But doing, you know, because you know, he's speaking the truth. So I kind of, you know, and I think he's as passionate about what he sees as being, you know, towing the line, and you know.
Do you see it as almost from a father figure? Because you had the two boys as well, and kind of trying to.
In a way,
find the right line.
In a way, yeah. Well, we don't have any scenes together, but yeah, you know, because it's important not to play Swan as the pantomime villain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That he's not, like, you know, because it's totally reasonable to what he's saying. You know that don't be doing those kind of things. You know, just stay on the straight and narrow.
But I think,
you know what I mean?
I think the great thing as well with Billy's writing is just how grounded in realism it is. So. No matter what character you're reading, it feels truthful when you're reading it, I think. So it's really easy to access the kind of the truth behind what you're playing.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's a gorgeous, you know, a look at character development and what it is, these establishment versus anti-establishment. It's so good.
And it's really, I have to say, it's really funny as well. It's hilarious. Like, the audiences might sort of been, you know, laughing and crying. You know, what more can you ask? What want? You know what
Wexford people. Now, Dubs have been trying to keep up with the Wexford people. Wexford are giving them everything they need. It is a handful of stars. It's by Billy Roach, of course. You've worked in this for so long. It's at the Pavilion Theatre, Tuesday the 18th. Starts tonight, and it runs until Saturday, the 22nd of June. Gary Lyndon and Dermot Murphy, it has been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much. Cheers. Thank you so much.
Great to have you with us. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks for staying with us. Now we've a sweet treat in the kitchen, and her name is Catherine Leyen.
Good morning to you, Catherine. And we've also got some Almond Bakewell.
Almond Bakewell tarts. And it's really just a layer of pastry, a layer of jam, and then a almond frangipan filling on top.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that.
We'll start by making the pastry. Already I've put the 175 grams, 6 ounces of flour into the bowl. I've added my 75 grams, 3 ounces of margarine with a pinch of salt, or butter. I prefer to use butter. And I just coarsely rub the margarine or the butter through the flour, and then I just bring the ingredients together with a little bit of water. Now, gradually add the water, because, as we've said before, if you put too much in, you can't take it out.
How many times have you said that in your career,
Catherine?
I tell you what, Catherine, you're off at the races. You think you're at the European Athletics? You're just taking off like the clappers.
I'm taking off, because I have a bit of...
Is there a bit of work in this, Catherine?
Not a lot, no, just different stages.
Okay.
Now, once you've that made, you wrap it and you put it in the fridge, OK?
Right. Now
you make the filling.
For how long?
About a half an hour, right? Okay. Now, I have one in the fridge already here. We're going to come back to that. Then into a saucepan, you put your 125 grams, that's 4 ounces of butter, into a saucepan, and over a very low heat, and you slowly melt it, OK? Now, I can get this thing going here now. There we go. Low heat, and just slowly melt it. And then you allow it to cool.
OK.
Here's the one we've cooled already.
Okay.
You with me now?
We're following you.
Now,
So why would you let it cool? Why would you heat it up and let it cool?
Because there's eggs going into it. Because the eggs will turn to...
He's listening to me for a long time too.
It's not like him, is it?
I'm telling you.
See, the eggs will scramble if it's
correct.
Right.
In there goes 125 grams, 4 ounces of caster sugar, 75 grams, 3 ounces of flour, plain flour, and about 100 grams of ground almonds. Now, can I say at this stage, the almonds are now, they're producing them in packets of 90 grams.
Oh,
you know what's happening with everything, right? Shrinkage. So if you haven't used for the ground almonds, the 90-gram pack will work.
Yeah, sure.
Okay?
Sure, we only missed the 10 grams.
Correct, very little.
What about the eggs getting smaller?
Oh, no, here, Tommy, give me a break. Merciful hour.
Would you use more eggs?
I use the large eggs, actually,
So
for all
use
my
the large eggs,
eggs. There you go.
Yep.
What about a duck egg? You missed
No,
that.
we did that last. Oh, he missed it last week.
Duck eggs are bigger than normal chicken eggs, so just use whatever you want.
No, you weigh the duck eggs.
Oh, weigh them out.
We weigh the duck eggs.
Why were you using duck eggs?
We weren't. It's only a question we got.
Oh, we got a question.
Making a sponge cake with
we're distracting, Catherine.
Sorry, Catherine. Now, we're going to just beat those ingredients together, and then we're going to add the 2 beaten eggs.
What about an ostrich egg?
Oh, you'd need a fairly large bowl for that one,
You
wouldn't
would.
you? Oh, just weigh it out.
Weigh it out.
Would you split up the egg and the yolk, though? The white and the yolk?
And will you listen? Just let her get on with our recipe.
We have to try and find a way to slow you down, Catherine.
Now, I've added my 2 beaten eggs, to which we added the few drops of almond essence. Now, normally, for an authentic frangipan, you would use all ground almonds.
What? Sorry?
Frangipan.
It's an almond mixture, right? And you'd normally use all ground... Yeah. Never heard of that?
Never heard of a frangipan before.
And you'd normally use all ground almonds. This fella's laughing. But ground almonds are very expensive nowadays.
Right.
So I add some ground almonds and some flour. This fella's having a fit here laughing at us. Now we're going to take the one out of the fridge.
Have you heard of a frangipan?
Of course I've heard of frangipan.
Have you
never heard of a frangipan?
No.
Now.
Why would have a... Well,
9 Swiss roll tin.
Sorry, what? The frangipan's a bit in the pot there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's an almond mixture.
An almond
that you use
mixture.
in cakes. Like marzipan in the States, something similar.
We call it frangipan.
But it's marzipan.
I can't be dealing with them. Come here. Now you have some raspberry jam. Now chill the pastry, as I did there. Then put in some raspberry jam and spread it evenly over the pastry. And then we just pour on our frangipan.
So you've got some strawberry jam and
raspberry
frangipan.
jam. Yes. These two are having Galerio at my expense here.
We've had to wait a long time for this, Catherine.
I know we have.
Strawberry jam and frangipan going into the oven.
Oh, good night, Jack. He's becoming a poet here today.
Didn't even know it.
Now you preheat your oven to 375 Fahrenheit, 190 centigrade, gas mark 5. And then you pour your frangipan filling in on top of the jam. And Alan Hughes is going to choke. I can hear him there beside me. Now, we just scoop it all away.
Right.
And spread it in the tin over the jam.
Well, there you have it now.
And then, to fit... Oh, dirty bit fell off there.
What happened to the thing you put in the fridge?
No, it's just taking
here.
that's underneath.
That's underneath.
What's wrong with you?
That's not what I was expecting
I'm
it to
on
look
too
like,
late.
I have to say. It looks like
Now, look. Spread this on top.
mustard
evenly.
or something.
And then onto that, we're going to put some flaked almonds.
Right.
And then you put it into the oven for about 40 minutes until it's nicely risen and golden brown in colour, which we hope the one in the oven is at the moment.
Okay.
Will I take it out?
Yes, Alan, take the...
How many almonds would you put on top? Oh, this looks lovely, Catherine.
Right, Hugh.
About 50 grams. Well done.
Look at that.
Now.
There we go.
Very good.
So, and if you leave it in too long, they'll obviously really burn.
They will
but
burn.
You want that?
No,
though?
you don't.
No.
That's what you don't want. So
Okay.
you just leave it in the tin then to go cold.
Yeah.
And then you cut it into slices.
And remember you said, like at the start, tart. So would you ever make the individual
You can
tart?
make an individual Bakewell tart, and you can use the same recipe that we have here. Instead of putting it into a Swiss roll tin, you put it into an 8-inch round cake tin.
Right.
What do you think, Tommy?
Yeah, Tommy likes them.
I've already had half the tray, Catherine.
I know you
I like them. But I don't see the difference. So that's pastry underneath, then, isn't it?
And then that's pastry. And then there's the almond topping and the jam in the middle.
Right.
So,
Catherine, thank you so much. That
my
was
pleasure.
Absolutely delicious.
Cherry Bakewell.
and I hope you enjoyed the laugh as well.
No, we always have great fun with you.
Always.
Frangiopan.
What are you calling frangiopan? Has everyone else been shouting at the TV like I have as well? Have they renamed it frangiopan? Anyway, do you know what? We'll talk more about that in just a little while. But earlier on, we learned how to eco-print a tote bag, and now we're moving on to clothing. Lots of sustainable solutions coming up with Alison in just a few minutes on Ireland Day. Hello.
Oh, look at it.
Welcome back. He feels like he's living his best rich woman life. Is
Bohemian lifestyle, my bohemian lifestyle.
Earlier on, myself and Alan, we did some DIY floral eco-printing.
Yes, but will our creations be fashion flares or fashion fails? Well, designer Alison is back with us once again to give us our honest verdict.
Hello.
So earlier on, we had 2 tote bags. What did we do? We took these flowers.
And you place them onto the tote bag and you roll them up. The bags as well are damp. And then they're steamed for 20 minutes in the pot.
Okay. Steamed for 20 minutes.
Now we're revealing them.
So
and it was just with these flowers here?
Yeah, literally the flowers that we see here in front of us.
So tell us about this whole thing that you do then.
Yeah, so it's eco-printing. So I started it about 4 years ago. I discovered natural dyes in my kitchen.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah, there you go. And it's if you start picking them
and
off.
you take off the flowers.
Yeah, enjoy the process. There you go.
Oh, so you take off the flowers?
Yeah, take all the flowers off and you'll reveal the prints underneath. And that's literally just from steam alone.
So even this big one here?
Yeah, that big one too.
And are there certain flowers that are
Yeah, so there are certain flowers. Not every flower will give you prints and last a long time. I grew a lot of these.
Printed.
Yay!
I printed.
Very nice design. I love it.
So, let's see your design, Maura.
Oh, yours is way nicer.
Yeah.
So there's my
no,
one.
It's not.
Oh, yours is lovely.
I know yours is lovely too. Like it's different.
I didn't realise it would look like boobies on a bag. But there we go.
So like that was so easy to do though.
Yeah,
so There, we'll sign them and you can sell them on.
Oh yeah, perfect.
So how did you get into all of this?
Basically, well, I come from costume design myself.
You worked in like The Last Duel.
Yeah,
Was that one of the films with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
What were they like to costume design for?
Oh, I mean, I didn't actually work with those guys, but I mean, I did see them on set. But yeah, they seemed nice.
Yeah, so you were working in costume design.
Yeah, and I obviously like textiles. I discovered you could dye with onion skins and tried it in my kitchen. Avocado stones as well is an all-time favourite.
Avocado stones?
Yeah, you get pinks and kind of peachy colours from avocado stones.
Like the middle of an avocado?
Yeah, the actual stone and the skin as well can give you dye. Yeah.
So you were just messing around in your kitchen?
I wasn't now. I did not discover natural dyes. I did hear about them, but yeah, I did it in my kitchen and it just obviously blew my mind. So I just went down that rabbit hole and I'm here 4 years later and decided to make a business of it. Like I teach it as well now. I do workshops and I've just started a new workshop that does this eco-printing with tote bags.
And where do you do the workshops?
Well, this new one is going to be in Knockrose Gardens in Enniskerry. It's beautiful gardens. I wanted to pick a really pretty, lovely landscape setting.
And is it a day course or is it?
It's just a morning. It's a nice, wholesome thing to do, for people to come along and eat a scone that my mum's going to make apparently.
I'll be there for the tea and the scone.
Yeah.
Yours is Mo.ie.
Mo.ie, yeah. Mo, the word for method in Irish. Yeah.
Method in Irish.
How important this whole method is.
And this is like all of your clothes that are here.
Yeah. So
Catherine Leyen wants to know, can you wash them?
Yes, we can wash them. So you have to wash them with eco-friendly detergent because regular detergents have an agent in them that attacks these as stains. So you got to use eco-friendly detergent. Yeah.
So say we wanted to do, because you were talking all day yesterday about tie-dye.
Yeah.
And you said, can you do a tie-dye with natural things?
So this ensemble I have here is obviously pink.
Yeah.
That dye comes from this plant here, madder, but you actually have to use the roots. So these are the roots here. I'm growing this in my garden, but these I got from a natural dye place where you can buy dyes, but you have to wait 3 years.
I was just about to say.
You have to wait 3 years. I'm on year 2.
So it grows and then you've got to take all the roots.
You got to take all the roots out.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how you get pink. So that's what this is in this pot here.
Okay.
And if you wanted, I have T-shirts. You can literally just scrunch them up
And you do a bit of tight.
Like, is there
you
something...
literally like just scrunch it and then pop
and you put it
elastic bands around.
Is there some, and what colour will that come out?
That will come out this pink here.
Pink.
So
Oh, really?
I have a here's the one I made earlier. So yeah, that will come out this colour.
And that's done with natural dye.
All plants.
So that just goes in like that, goes into a pot like this.
Literally goes into that pot. Mind your little hand
Mind
there.
your hands. Oh, I can see it already.
Yeah,
look.
so you can see the
look,
pink
if you take
there.
it out, look how it's the white bit there, and then look at that.
It's so strong and so magical. I'm still blown away every single time like I do it.
And how long would you leave that in there for now?
For that, like it depends on how deep you want it. For that one now, I left it about an hour.
An hour?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that is fab, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
and
it looks fab, and it looks really expensive as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and it's a nice earthy tone rather than the synthetic brights. I just think it's just, like, I love the colours.
But this is the thing about, because these are very long processes.
Yeah,
Like for you to get this, it takes you 3 years. You've got to grow things. in the
Yeah,
garden.
everything's very slow.
And it is slow. That is what sustainability is about. It's the old-fashioned, because these are things that would have been done years and years and years ago.
Yeah,
for people to dye their clothing.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the Book of Kells was written in like oak gall ink. You know, that's natural ink that you can make from trees.
So what else do you do? Like I'm wearing one of the shirts, so you do t-shirts, and then.
Yeah, so I do, at the moment I have a collection out. I've named it Grounded because of how grounding the experience is. And I have jackets, overalls, and I don't think, the pants on the mannequin over there and the shirt as well.
Was that
so
dyed as well?
Collection. Yeah, that's also this.
But it must be really tough because it's all timing, right? To get the right colour pink.
Yeah.
To be, if I leave it for an extra hour, that's going to be a colour that I won't want.
Even an extra minute or two to make the difference.
Not a huge difference, but definitely, like, because a lot of the time you need to actually leave things overnight to soak this again. It's another soak.
But do you see the way the dress there?
Yeah.
That we've folded it over to make it. Do you do the exact same replica on the dress? You do one side and then fold it over?
I did that with this one. Yeah, I did. So this.
So they matching on each side. Then?
Yeah.
So you did that on one side and folded it.
Yeah. So basically, the reason why it doesn't look completely mirrored is because one side of the leaf gives more colour than the other.
Yes.
So you might have a leaf here, but no
like
leaf
yours
here.
Is a bit faded on one side.
Yeah. So you're not going to get some, like, obviously there's the really strong dye plants actually work really well, but some don't.
How is the world of sustainability? Like, it's tough, isn't it, when you're living in a world of fast fashion?
Absolutely, yeah. Like, I'm just trying to do my tiny little part, you know?
Yeah.
So,
you know, like we keep saying here on the show all the time, if we all played a small part in it, it would make a big difference.
Yeah, and you just kind of hope and you just keep trying. You know?
Keep trying. Well, you look absolutely adorable.
So mo.ie.
Mo.ie.
modh.ie. People want to find out about your about your classes and everything like that.
Alison, thank you so much, Alison. Thank you.
Coming up on tomorrow's show, we've got the latest health headlines with our resident GP.
Forager Phoebe is going to show us how to nourish our hair using all natural ingredients.
And Derek is catching up with the one, the only, the world snooker champion, Ken Doherty. That is from tomorrow, 7 o'clock. We will be back. Which would you pick? It's cool, isn't it?
His is very good.
You're
very artistic.
Very artistic. Very artistic.
Have a great day.
Have a great day. See you tomorrow.
See you later.
Bye.